Welcome to the Two Guys, One Coup podcast with Dale and Jim, where the truth matters and progressives' feelings don't. We bring you the facts from the perspective of two average, everyday guys who will never apologize for being America first, for adhering to our great Constitution, and for saluting the flag that our brothers and sisters have fought and died for. And now, here's Dale and Jim.
Hello, everybody. Two Guys, One Coup, episode 46. 46. For those of you that are impressed. I mean, why wouldn't you be? It's 46 episodes.
Why they wouldn't be.
Jim, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. How about you?
Are you? I'm doing great, thank you. I'm doing very, very good. We got a show today, don't we?
Think so.
Bunch of stuffs. We continue our journey into the deep dive that is the public school system and some of the going-ons there.
Mm-hmm.
We get a little political today as well, so we're back to that. But the important part is that we're going to continue this fight with what is probably, Jim, the most misrepresented and polarized group I have ever seen in my life. That's the Moms for Liberty.
Yeah, and we're talking about two people, you and I, that actually got to know a bunch of them.
Yeah,
and went down to this
thing. Getting to know more. I mean, that's impressive.
It kind of, we take it personally because we consider a lot of these, all of them, any member of Moms for Liberty are friends of ours. You know,
Correct.
Some we know more personal than others,
but yeah,
it's
for now.
So we get a little offensive, and you've had some battles on things, and I've had some discussions on things, and
I got to be honest with you, okay? I don't like to be confrontational. I don't initially go out and seek confrontation, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
I didn't ask the bum to hit me in the head with a beer. You know, I mean, I don't like go out and seek that kind of that kind of attention, right? Although I am very, as you are, we speak our mind, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when I see this group being misrepresented like it is, I cannot refrain from commenting. It's not within me.
Right.
I don't know how this group does it. I don't know how Tina and Tiffany, I don't know how they blow all that off. Well, let's be honest, they're stronger than you and I are. As far as the willpower to just, I can't stop. I don't think I ever will. I am going to confront these people, and I'm going to try to tell them the truth, and I'm going to give them example after example after example of what these people are fighting for and what's happening in our public school systems. Again, folks, let me reiterate, Moms for Liberty is not against teachers. Can you move on from that narrative? They don't want to. I get it. That's how they fire up their base. They are not against teachers. My Lord. I mean, how many times do they have to publicly say it? How many times do we have to say it? How many times do the members across the country have to say it? Everyone's seen. We're not stupid. We see what's going on in the school board meetings. We see what's going on in the public school system. We've got more stories today, don't we, Jim? Of what's happening in the that you need to be concerned about.
Especially for all those people about saying, that's not going on. That's not going on.
One of the opposition is just literally saying, none of that's happening. It's all made up. Everything's been debunked. I'm so sick of the word debunked. That's all they say. It's been debunked. It's been debunked, man. You know, how do you not see it? I mean, I understand. Okay, let's pretend for a moment that I was born with half a brain, so I came out Democrat. Okay, and let's just pretend for a moment.
Well, you're crediting yourself quite a bit with half a brain.
I mean, okay, maybe a moderate Democrat. So and let's even pretend further that I have no knowledge that there are other news sources out there other than CNN, NBC, ABC, CBS.
Yeah.
And there's no other way to get my news other than to read the New York Times, the Washington Post, and I'll throw the Tampa Bay Times in there. Those, they're all like that, right? They're all like that, and they wonder why.
Because
their
the people
subscriptions
that wrote the
are
article,
going down, right? Huh?
More than likely, the people that wrote the article didn't even go.
Didn't even go, and if they went, they didn't attend any of the going-ons there, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think we know that now. Well, let's just pretend that. And then somebody told me, as the half-brain moderate Democrat that I am, that, hey, here's a story of a person who had a child who was questioning their gender, and then they started moving it up the school ladder, but they didn't inform the parent, nor would they let the parent know what those discussions were. You think well, geez, I don't know. Maybe let me look and see if that story's out there. Oh my God, there it is for everybody to see. Not these buffoons, not these ignorant people. They deny it happens. It's just not happening. Well, because you lazy SOBs won't do the research, right? You won't even go beyond your little world that you're living in to look at this. I didn't want to open the show this way, Jim. All of a sudden, I was happy before we got on video. Now I'm a half-brain Democrat.
Well, you said it best. You said they were the most misrepresented and misunderstood group right now out there, and
polarizing.
I'm telling you, we met a lot of them, and they're not at all what people are saying about them, and it's words. Remember how we always talk about that, the liberal left, that words now, words actually have more meaning than what they actually mean. And some, some just seems to be hung up with the teachers. They don't hear some, they hear all.
They hear all.
But there are some bad teachers. There's some bad podcasters. It's not us, but there's some.
No, of course it's not us.
I mean, there's bad.
Goes without
there's
saying.
some bad in everything, right? Everything.
Yep.
But when you take that some, like liberals do, okay, you say, well, some police officers may not have the best intentions. Liberals, it's all, right?
It's all.
So when we use the word some, we mean some.
Yep.
Okay. Right. And some can be any number. It can be, it can. And so, but some teachers are bad. But the biggest problem that we have right now with this group is not just bad teachers, but bad administrators, and bad school boards. That's what the fight is.
That's the major. And where does that come from, Jim?
Yeah.
It stems from the top, which is the Department of Education, which is filtering this leftist ideology down to your school boards. Yep. Those people are in there, and that's what this group is fighting. They're fighting. They're not just fighting their local school boards. They're not just fighting Joe down the street who's walking around with his, head up his rear end thinking none of this is happening. That's just a small part of the battle. I mean, they've got the Department of Education and the teachers unions that they're battling. These are big, powerful groups. So, did I interrupt you, Jim? I probably
no, not at all. It's the story that you're going to be doing on schools. When we get to doing it, we need to add something to it, and we'll get into that as far as school boards go, because you and I touched on it briefly when we were talking. So.
But I want to, before we get into our first segment in the show, I want to talk again, because it's super important about, and many of you might not be familiar with it. And I got to be honest with you, I think Jim and I are just kind of getting familiar with it more. We really need to deep dive into this, but Title IX.
We knew what it is about, why it was come about, but digging deep into it, probably don't know.
Digging deep into it. Well, the Biden administration, along with the wonderful Department of Education, wants to change it. Is that the right word? They want to enhance it, I guess maybe is the right word for it. Just let me read you a little bit of this. The 50th anniversary of Title IX should have celebrated 50 years of equal opportunities in education and athletics for women and girls. Instead, the Biden Department of Education continued to peddle its woke agenda by proposing a federal rule that redefines sex, in quotes, in Title IX policies to include sexual orientation and gender identity. So, in other words, the Biden administration is using the federal rule-making process to take away those opportunities from women and girls and force the people political agenda in every public school. And this is kindergarten through college, guys. This isn't, just high school. It's not just, it's kindergarten through college. If this rule goes into effect, the Department of Education will use the power of the federal government to, one, force girls to share private spaces like showers, locker rooms, and bathrooms with males. Everybody for that out there with if you got children. Force girls to lose sex-specific scholarships to males who identify as female. Likely further the LGBT political agenda in public school curriculum and policies. Silence girls who express concerns about the privacy and safety and shut down any opposition to transgender ideology by labeling disagreement as discrimination. And lastly, allows students to file official harassment claims if they are not addressed by their preferred pronouns, even when those do not align with their biological sex. This is what's on the line, folks. On our Two Guys, One Coup Facebook page. Why you're not on it, I don't know. Why you're not sharing it, I don't know. Apparently, there are people lazier than we think out there that consider us friends. Share it, people. It is important. I say it, facetiously, but it is important. There's a link on our Facebook page where you can click on it and you just simply enter your information, and it's already pre-written that you are against this. You don't have to type any of that out. It's pretty simply done for you. Even a half-brained Democrat might be able to figure it out. And then you just submit it, and it lets the Biden administration know that you're against this. And we have to inundate the government with this, with as many people as we can right now. If you don't see the link, or if you want me to private message you the link or Jim to send it, just reach out to one of us. You can do it via our email, twoguys1coup@gmail.com, or on our Facebook page, Two Guys One Coup. And we will be more than happy to send you the link. So it's extremely important. From what January Littlejohn said, we have like a 60-day window to just flood the government with this signature. Now, folks, before I go any further, this is not an anti-gay stance. It has nothing to do with that. Again, be who you want to be as an adult. But no reason for all of that ideology to be implemented in kindergartners and first graders and second graders. You have to agree with that, I'm assuming, people, right? I mean, that's just obvious and common sense. So, Jim, I just wanted to get through that. Yeah, because that's super important, and I did not want to let it go. So
basically, it's you and I mentioned. It's really women's sports will no longer exist. It will no longer be women's.
It's not only that, but I identify as a girl now. Let me go shower with the girls.
Yep.
We always tried to sneak in the girls' locker room. I mean, I remember that. I'm a kid. I understand. Yeah. This is crazy, though. But Jim, you wanted to go and ask me something, and you brought it up before the show, and I have no idea. So Dale's going to be put on the spot. So
I just want to bring something up. Okay, for all of you who don't know, if you look behind Dale's right shoulder, you will see that he is an Ohio State Buckeye fan. Uh-oh. And their biggest nemesis is Michigan.
I know where you're going. It makes me mad, Jim. I was telling where you're going.
I was telling Mrs. Jim last night that, oh my gosh, Dale's going to have to admit on air that he agrees with what Jim Harbaugh said.
If you don't know, folks, and Jim, do you want to tell people what Jim Harbaugh said? He is the coach of Michigan Wolverines football. If people
played for him, all that, and
he basically my absolute most hated person, maybe next to Nick Saban. Sorry,
and the thing is he all he did was proclaimed, "Let unborn be born." So he's pro-life, and they spoke at this event, and I just Loved it. I because I guess there are some people that we don't like in terms of sports, but we can also like something about it because we agree on something. But I had to do that. I'm sorry.
I knew as soon as you said it, I was like, I saw that and I looked at it and I'm like, oh no, I'm going to have to agree.
He's getting drilled now.
Of course he is. So what I'm waiting for is what I'm going to assume will maybe it won't, and hopefully Harbaugh sticks by his guns on this, But I'm expecting the apology tour to come out again. The self-loathing. I heard from the pro-choice people, and it made me rethink my stance on it. The BS apology stuff they all do.
I'm not sure.
Nobody ever stands by it. Right. I don't. Harbaugh doesn't appear to be the type that would.
I don't think he's going to.
But you get enough. He's. Would you think there might be some liberals on the board at the Michigan University?
Well,
I'm guessing, but
maybe Jim Harbaugh needs to get a backbone like the Moms for Liberty people do and just ignore it.
But they don't, Jim, because it affects their paychecks. It may affect recruiting. The boosters might be like, "Hey, wait a second, we're pro-choice, so we're gonna." I'm telling you, I'm expecting an apology tour.
How many years did we have to live with Roe v. Wade legal? I mean, how many years did we have to? Our pro-life people had to deal with it all this time, and
50 years.
And when people went out there and said that pro-choice, we didn't threaten them. We didn't do this. We didn't do that. It's like whatever. Correct. You have a right to your opinion. You whatever. Yep. But we aren't allowed to have it. We are not allowed to have an opinion against the left, and it just drives me nuts.
Cancel culture. I mean, they want to. They'll do whatever you take. They'll dox you. They'll go after your employments. They'll go after your families. They'll go after your finances, your sponsors if you have sponsors. I mean, they will stop at nothing because that's who they are. That's what they want.
That's who they are.
Everybody we're for free speech. We're for free thinking, unless it's not our free speech or our free thinking.
Let's face it. It would be no different than if a Pittsburgh Steeler came out and proclaimed they're pro-Trump and pro-DeSantis, and I might actually have to say something nice too. But I
might say, but wow, Jim, you were right. I saw that story and I thought, oh no, I for once agree with Jim Harbaugh on something, and it pains me, but I love that he said it, and I give him credit for saying it.
Yep. Let's hope he stands by it.
I will immediately take that credit away the first time he says,
I will.
Geez, I apologize. First time those words, or I'm sorry, or I've learned from this group. No. First time any of that garbage comes out, I'm back to hating Jim Harbaugh again. So,
when anytime in life when you do this, when you state something you firmly believe, and then somebody attacks you and comes back, and then you change it. Correct. What do you stand for anymore?
Nothing.
I mean, what do you stand for then? You
stand for whatever
the
almighty dollar,
whatever somebody tells you.
Whatever
that's
somebody
what you stand for, and it's I can't.
Yep. It happens all the time. It happens every day,
right?
To everybody, all these celebrities, all these things, and that's what they do. So
and we have some stories to discuss.
We do. So Jim, So Jim, why don't we get to our first segment of the day? You're up.
Close. We're good. I caught myself.
Right. You did, buddy.
Okay, so in line with Moms for Liberty, and as we will get going on, there's a lot of stories out here, guys. And so we're going to have my first one, and then Dale's first one are going to be about this. And so first one I have is San Diego School Board President says students must wear a mask or don't bother returning to school.
I love it. Yeah, isn't that great?
San Diego Unified School District Board President Sharon Whitehurst-Payne defended the district's decision to return to indoor mask mandate, suggesting that students uncomfortable with wearing masks should not return to school. They really should not. They really should wear the mask, even though there's no evidence out there at all that the mask help.
No, it actually hurts.
Whitehurst-Payne said in an interview with Good Morning San Diego Monday, adding that the students who feel uncomfortable with the mask at that point just not return. Now, sorry, I'm getting befuddled here because I'm getting frustrated. There is evidence out there, and there's science. Science. You guys always want science. That masks don't help. The masks do not help. No. So you're asking your kids to wear masks, which we have shown, and science has shown, that kids do develop breathing problems because they're constantly sucking it in.
Yep.
And but the comments come after the district announced that the students enrolled in summer school will be required to wear masks indoors. If your student is participating in summer school or other summer enrichment programs, please send them to school or their program with a mask. The district said in a letter to parents, according to the KUSI News, if they do not have one, mask will be provided. Students and staff will be required to wear their mask while indoors only.
Exactly what Moms for Liberty is fighting for. One of them. I mean, one of the issues, obviously. But yeah.
So they do give the option. They can opt out not to return to regular school, but go to the school where they don't have to. They can opt not to return to the regular school, but to go to the school where they don't have to go to school at all other than via Zoom. This is an educator. So anyway, but recent research has shown the damage the pandemic shift away from in-person instruction has caused to student achievement. Harvard. I'm having some problems there.
That's a cheese.
One Harvard University study showing large gaps in outcomes between schools that spent less than 3 weeks in remote learning than those that relied on online schooling for much of the pandemic. Those gaps were especially pronounced in districts with low income and minority families.
There you go.
So for all of you black people out there, it's going against you, and there's evidence out there. There's actual evidence to show.
There is.
Students in high poverty schools that were remote for more than half of 2020, 2021 would be expected to see a 5% decline in average earnings over their career, given past relationships between test scores and earnings. Thomas Kane, professor of education at Harvard, and one of the authors of the study, said that the study's results, they may not sound like much, but when calculating losses for all 50 million students in K-12 education in the U.S., it would amount to $2 trillion decline in lifetime earnings.
Wow.
Children are also at lower risk for severe complications from COVID-19, one Harvard analysis finding that many of them have no symptoms, and those that do fall ill experience milder symptoms such as low-grade fever, fatigue, and a cough. So, they want the science when the science matches what they have, right?
Correct.
It's just, it's insane. And then, Dale, do you have anything to comment on that before I go quickly into this next one?
No, I mean, you've said it all, and you've said the fact that the science that they want to believe is the science they want to believe, and the true science is the fact that, inhaling your own CO2 has literally caused breathing issues. All sorts of issues. And so real quick then, let me give you an example of that. I was talking to, oh my gosh, I can't remember which one, a Moms for Liberty member, who was talking about the fact that when they want to mask up your children, and we're talking kindergartners all the way through elementary school and all, you name it, when they teach them the language, when they teach them to pronounce words, basically phonics, it's all visual. It's all your mouth, where your tongue goes. That's how you learn to speak. How do you do that with masks on? How do you do that with masks on? So what are we really doing here? So, Jim, that's really all I got to say.
Well, how did we find that out, Dale?
About
a teacher.
A teacher.
Yeah,
a teacher. A teacher told us that. Yeah, teacher.
A good teacher.
Yeah. Anyway, a good teacher told us that.
The last thing I want to talk about real quick, Oregon Education Department, anti-bias training accuses white people of having thorough racist conditioning.
That seems anti-bias. I mean, there's nothing that screams anti-bias more than that.
It's in the article, right? I mean, so the school, they put their teachers through this training.
Yeah.
That basically, and like I said, I'll go over this quickly, but we've talked about this in many instances before where basically it's our fault. Dale and I, it's our fault. It's our superiority and everything else that we have in life has, led us to this point, which is bullshit, by the way. And by the way, the book that I am reading that we will have the author on, Black Victim to Black Victor, I can't wait to discuss it. But so basically what all this reports to is that they're showing statistics, where white people compared to, it's the failures of other races or other, it is because of the way that we have proceeded in life, and everything is always education. Everything is always leans towards them, right? Leans towards the white people. And that's why African Americans and black people are failing.
Yep. Correct.
Which isn't true. Okay. No. It's they're failing because of what they're hearing in their cultures. Yep. That's what it is. And again, this book so far is just defining that. Dale, our favorite term, microaggressions.
I love it. Yeah.
Never heard of it until we started into this stuff, but now you get into
microaggressions.
So racial microaggressions are defined by, according to the Oregon Department of Education, commonplace verbal or behavioral indignities, whether intentional or unintentional, which communicate hostile, derogatory, or negative slights and insults.
Okay. All right. Such as? Do they give examples?
To deny one's personal racism or role in the perpetuation of a micro-invalidation, the training said. So, it kind of goes into all of this stuff. It's basically, again, the Dale, when you look at me, okay, and you say to me, I bet you're not very athletic.
Have I said that?
Or if you look to a black person and you look at that black person and say, I bet you're fast. Those are what we're talking about. I mean, there's worse ones than that, obviously, right? But I just wanted to give you examples of those that come under it. But another micro-validation included statements which assert that race plays a minor role in life's success, under an umbrella titled The Myth of Meritocracy. So it just kind of goes into the anti-bias training. It was launched in 2020. Gee, what happened in 2020?
Let me think.
Yep. Understanding the institutionalized racist barriers that hinder elimination of the racial achievements disparities of the schools. So when we look at, again, I'm just giving my opinion, when we look at a school that fails, instead of taking upon the teachers, the parents, the administration, and all that stuff together that caused these students to fail, or the cultural upbringing of where they're at, instead of saying, hey, let's improve that, no, we have to identify a fault, right? That's what everybody wants to do. Well, the fault is white people. Yeah, it's white people. And so now we've got to go towards this. But real quick, I want to, they had
which Jim, real quick, sorry,
go ahead.
Before the question is, two things. First of all, I mean, that's basically critical race theory, right?
That's what it is. Yeah, it's what it is. Slowly putting a critical race theory in.
That's what it is. That is that's what you and I were told by our good protester friends did not exist.
Right.
But go on. All right.
No, you're right.
Second, though, Jim, I've never said you weren't athletic. I said you're more of a third baseman than a second baseman. That's all I said. Go on.
Anyway, the training's literature also spoke out against colorblindness. Okay, colorblindness negates the cultural values, norms, expectations, and life experiences of people of color, and most importantly, their experience as a target of racism. I'm sorry, if a black person looks at this and they say to themselves, oh, I got bad grades because of my race and because I'm black. That's why African Americans and black people are coming out and speaking against critical race theory, because some parents teach their kids that it's not a handicap. It's not a handicap. We just need to be successful. We have that opportunity. Go to school, do right, and so that's why some black parents are coming out against CRT.
Correct.
And those are the ones we want to use, because for you and I to come out CRT or racist, everything else gets thrown out there in our faces. But we want success in the schools. And instead of, my favorite thing is always, we want to look at a failure. We want to look at failure in something. And so instead of looking at why the failure is going on, or, well, we have a certain group that fails, but in that same group, there's a certain group that succeeds. Correct. So let's look at the ones that succeed and see what the difference is of the one that fail, right? That's what we should be looking at. But no, Correct. We have to place blame. Yep. And it's easier to place blame because then it doesn't hurt the kids' feelings. Mm-hmm. Yep, right? And now look what we're dealing with now with these let's not hurt the kids' feeling group that are now becoming adults, working adults. But here was a feedback questionnaire. One of the questions, I am more aware of the impact of racism, and white dominant cultures on students in schools. Do you strongly disagree, agree? So it's all that. You got strongly agree, disagree, strongly disagree. I have a greater understanding of the history of Oregon in relation to race and racism. I feel more confident in asking questions and addressing equity issues. I feel more comfortable participating in conversations about race and racism. I have a good idea of what my next steps are for supporting students and families. I am interested in doing more work on this topic in our department meetings. Now, the one thing I want to ask you, Dale, real quick.
Yeah.
I have a good idea of what my next steps are for supporting students and families.
Yeah.
Tell me what that is.
That is. Yeah, exactly. Right?
I mean, come on. What do you... It's these are...
Exactly. I mean, guys, I'm glad it's not biased. So
exactly. And look, again, we mentioned this before when we talked about the county in Chicago, where they showed a percentage of African Americans that failed a test and
Correct.
And how it went down. But what we need to look at are when you have a group of people, okay, and you look at this group of people succeeds, this group fails, okay. So when it's white, okay, when we go with white or Caucasians, we have this percentage of students fail, this percentage of students pass. So what we look at when we do those things is we look at income levels, right? We look at where they're at based on that and then we kind of do that. Parent involvement, things like that. We look at all these different things, okay? Single family home, dual family, mom and dad, or dad and dad, mom and mom, if we want to be fair. How involvement is that? That's what we do. That's what most people would do. Okay. So when you have an African-American or Hispanic households, okay, you want to sit there and say, okay, why is this group succeeding? Because there are some groups that are succeeding. There are percentages of these groups that succeed. Let's see what that is. Okay. So if it is because there's an active father and mother in the household, okay, let's look at the ones that are failing. So again, as Adam wrote in his book, work towards cultural changes. Correct. We got to work towards cultural changes and not have to expect everybody to fix your problem or to sit there and say, this is why this is happening is because this is who you are.
Well, it gives them an excuse. What it does is whether they take it as it's an excuse for failure, subconsciously, it's like, oh, I can't do anything about it because it's just who I am. And it's because of them. It's who I am. So then that starts spinning in their heads and it breeds hatred. It breeds, all of that. So, Jim, that's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm sorry. I got a little long-winded there. But
No, don't worry about it. I'm just, it's just really shocking coming from the Oregon Department of Education. And I did say Oregon wrong. I know.
Yes, you did.
On purpose.
They get very personal with that.
Well, they do, and also, if you say Oregon, it makes you seem like you're from there. I am not. Yeah. It's Oregon. But Jim, that was great. You want to move on, do you?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's do it. Well, sticking with the whole school stuff, here's a little bit of disturbing news.
Very disturbing news.
But maybe not shocking. When you think about how things are going, at least 181, let me repeat, 181 kindergarten through 12th grade educators, including 4 principals, were arrested on child sex related crimes in the United States in the first 6 months of this year. 181. So, what, Jim, do the math? That's about one a day.
One a day.
About one a day, people. Now, are there, before I even get into the story, are there also child predators and other forms of professions? Absolutely. When you can tell me there is 181 Burger King employees arrested for in the first 6 months, let me know. All right. This is just crazy. And it's in the school. So it's happening, people. And an analysis conducted by Fox News Digital, and this was a Fox News story for all of those that are going to say, it's just Fox News. Look it up, people. It's everywhere. Fox News Digital looked at local news stories week by week featuring arrests of principals, teachers, substitute teachers, and teachers' aides on child sex-related crimes in school districts across the country. Arrests that weren't publicized were not counted in the analysis, meaning a true number may well be higher. Tell me that's not. That is absolutely true. This might be a much higher number than 181. The analysis found that at least 181 have been arrested between January 1st and June 30th, which we had said works out to about one a day. The 181 educators included 4 principals, 153 teachers, 12 teachers' aides, and 12 substitute teachers. At least 140 of the arrests, or 77%, involved alleged crimes against their students. Men also made up the vast majority, 78% of the arrests. That's not surprising to me. Many of the arrests involved especially heinous allegations. Roger Weaver Freed, the 34-year-old former principal at Williamsport Area High School in Pennsylvania, was arrested in June and charged with sexual contact with a student, corruption of a minor, furnishing liquor to a minor, sexual assault, and aggravated indecent assault without consent. Freed is accused of having a years-long sexual relationship with a male student. Shannon Hall, a 31-year-old former teacher at Jamaica Gateway to the Sciences High School in New York City, was arrested in June and charged with forcible touching, endangering the welfare of a child, and aggravated harassment. Sorry about that. Give me 1 second. Hall is accused of grabbing a 14-year-old female student's breasts inside his classroom and of sending tweets to a 16-year-old student that said he wanted to have sex with her and threatening to kill her if she told anybody. Some more examples, Jim. Norman Morell, a 45-year-old former teacher at Green Mountain Union High School in Vermont, was arrested in May and charged with production of child sexual abuse material and possession of child sexual abuse. Charged with production of child sexual abuse and also possession of child sexual abuse material. Morell is accused of secretly video recording female students walking past him at school and of producing videos showing nude children. There's a couple more. Do you want me to go on? Because I'm going to, whether you wanted to or not. People need to hear this. Anessa Page Gower, Gower, a 35-year-old former biology teacher, was at Making Waves Academy in Richmond, California, was charged with 29 counts of child molestation on April 8th. Gower is accused of sexually abusing 7 students between 2021 and 2022 when she was a teacher at Making Waves, with allegations including forcible sodomy of minors and sharing sexually graphic photos over online platforms. John Doty, Doty, D-O-T-Y, a 35-year-old former biology teacher at Career Academy South Bend in Indiana, your state, Jim, was charged with 2 counts of rape and 1 count of attempted rape and 6 counts of child seduction on February 9th of this year. Dolly is accused of repeatedly raping a 16-year-old female student and threatening to kill her. He is scheduled to stand trial in January of next year. The analysis comes after the U.S. Department of Education released a report last month titled Study of State Policies to Prohibit Aiding and Abetting Sexual Misconduct in Schools, which analyzed state policies prohibiting passing the trash or allowing suspected sexual abusers to quietly leave their jobs to possibly offend again in different school districts. So this happened a lot, Jim, where basically it's like, oh, we don't want this news. Just that's it. You're out of our school district. We're not reporting it. You just go. And then they get jobs elsewhere and do the same thing. So this is a law that makes it illegal to not report that stuff. So we'll see where this goes. And this goes on and on and on, folks. I've given you some examples of what has happened in the school system that, once again, Jim and I's best friends at the summit outside holding little signy things
not
stated
happening.
Is not happening.
Yep.
Guys, you can read all about it on Fox News, and it'll give you that information. Jim, before I really quickly go on to this one, do you want to say anything?
Let's just and again, we pressed on it because we know of situations that have happened where it hasn't been recorded. Right?
We know that.
It's just like, well, let's go ahead and just release the teacher from their assignment, and then they can go on to another school because you can't, you let them resign. Right? And so
that's right. It's out of their hands. It doesn't make the school look bad.
So we pass it down the line.
About it.
We pass it down the line until something bad happens. Now, real quick, and we can't, I know there's no proof in this, all right, but we're going to say what you and I have been saying since day one. Okay?
Yep.
All of these rules and these wokeness that is being implemented into these schools that they want to put out there, sharing the bathroom, use any bathroom you want.
Correct.
This leads to this.
Drag queen story hour.
This leads to predators coming into the school and going after the children. It allows that. And now I'm not saying that's what caused all this stuff, but I guarantee you some of this stuff was.
Well,
some of this stuff opened it up.
It's another path, as you said many times, Jim. Right. It's another lane that opens up for these demented individuals to get positions that are supposed to be taking care of our children, and instead are abusing them. So.
And look, and again, this it's not so far-fetched when you think about it, but just think about this: that if you have a predator in a school and you're teaching this predator about if they're gay or not, or if they want to switch identities or things like that, or switch genders and stuff, and you have somebody that, and then you see these books that we've reported on some of them, play by play of how to do things. What makes you think this teacher isn't going to try to go up to these students who is confused and take advantage of it? That's all we're saying. It's like, why does this need to be taught in schools? Why?
Yep, exactly.
And anyway, so go on to your next story.
No, it's very true. But I mean, the wokeness kind of then leads to maybe this next story in a way, because a survey was commissioned by one of the nation's largest teacher union found that the Republicans have an advantage over Democrats in regard to voters' confidence in handling education. Well, I think we know why. I mean, I think it's obvious. I mean, we talk about it. It's the woke agenda. It's the woke agenda. So before I go on, another Moms for Liberty thing that I'm getting told a lot, and I think, Jim, you probably heard it, is they claim to be nonpartisan, but they clearly are not. I mean, look at the speakers they had at their summit: Ron DeSantis, Casey DeSantis, Rick Scott, Betsy DeVos, Ben Carson. Okay. They started out now. This should be a nonpartisan issue, is what it really is. Now, just because one side is going absolutely cuckoo, there's going to be a side that's going to be more partisan that agrees and aligns with their values, and that's just natural. That's the natural progression of it. But I'm sure the co-founders, Tiffany and Tina, didn't start out by saying, "Well, we just want Republicans. That's all we're going to do. We're just complete." It's just there happens to be one party that is crazy and one party that is not.
Yeah, and And they wouldn't say no to a liberal that wanted to join Moms for Liberty, because
I'm sure there has.
Their whole thing is, not one time was abortion brought up during this issue. Not one time was the economy. Not one time was any of this stuff brought up.
Electric cars, nothing.
Only about education of our children and the parents' rights in that. That's all this was.
A nonpartisan issue.
Exactly.
And it doesn't make sense to me that these brain dead liberals on the left can't wrap their feeble little mushy brains around it. It just drives me nuts.
Yeah, and I think this thing that you just reported on, I think the fact that the Republicans vote more for it, and I think it's the help of Moms for Liberty. I think it's the push that they've done. I think it's the waking up of people, and credit. I believe credit has to go to them, and you and I will always credit them, but it has to go to them, because it's
cool. I like to say, the left is very, very woke.
Yeah,
Moms for Liberty, people more so on the right. Left is woke. We're awake. We see it.
Exactly.
We're not heads in the sand people. It's simple research. It's simple knowledge. Stories are out there. Let me really quick get onto this. The American Federation of Teachers commissioned a poll from Heart Research Association, asked in general, do you have more confidence in the Democrats or in the Republicans to deal with education issues? The survey was conducted in 7 battleground states, where the results showed Republicans with a 39 to 38% advantage on which party voters trust more on education. The polling is such an epic self-own. I can't wait to. The polling is such an epic self-own for Randi Weingarten. The results of Randi Weingarten's own polling destroy her own narrative. Now, she's the president of the teachers union. She did this poll. So where do you think it's going to lead? Where do you think they led this poll towards?
Right.
Not towards a conservative side. Yet, having said that, Republicans still hold an advantage. How is that look for her? The survey also found that people felt that the number one issue in regard to education in public schools is that it is being too politicized. Furthermore, the study found that both Democrats and Republicans were viewed as responsible for politicizing education and making education too much a part of the culture war. Isn't that special? However, in response to the same question, 33% responded that Democrats were responsible for politicizing education, while 28% said Republicans were doing so. In reaction to the survey's result, AFT President Randi Weingarten, we've talked about her, pushed Democrats to ramp up messaging against Republican attacks on critical race theory. Now, Jim, that's interesting. I take a step back and I say, why would she want to ramp up the messaging against critical race theory if our good friends on the other side are telling us it doesn't exist, critical race theory? Why would she want to do that? School board meetings have become battlegrounds between parents and school board officials since the pandemic began. Conservatives have made significant gains across the country on the issue of education by highlighting CRT curriculum and by opposing COVID-related mandates and lockdowns. These issues have led to protests and recalls of school boards across the nation. Republican elected officials in several states have sought to ban discussion of gender ideology and critical race theory in classrooms, particularly for young students. Republican candidates have found great success in prioritizing this issue, with the most notable victory being Republican Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin, who focused on parents after his opponent, former Governor Terry McAuliffe, dismissed their role in children's education.
Didn't he basically say they have no business being in the schools.
That's what Terry McAuliffe said, who was the former governor of Virginia and supposed to win in a landslide there. We've talked about this in prior episodes. But that issue alone, in the school issue, led Glenn Youngkin to victory, and moms were behind him.
Yep.
Parents were behind him, and that's what did it. And so another argument I get, Jim, and then we'll move on because I'm dragging on here, but I always get that critical race theory doesn't exist. I always get that the Republicans only want to ban books.
Yeah.
Jim, what do you say to that ban book thing when you say that the Republicans are just trying to ban the books?
Well, they're not banning them because you can still get them.
Sure.
All right, banning means you can't get them.
Online.
You can still, It's just that this book is not going to be taught in our schools.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's all it means.
That's plain and simple for various reasons, and whether it's blatantly obvious that critical race theory is in a math book, or whether it's stated in a fact that, Governor DeSantis said, well, 2 + 2 equals, well, I don't, it makes me feel bad. I don't know. It's 4. Okay. That's plain and simple. There's no other way around it, or it hurts my feelings, or it's your fault by 2 and 2 = 4. That it's plain, it's hidden in there. And so it's not a book banning, people.
And like he said in his speech,
mm-hmm.
he sent back to the publishers and said, this book as written is not coming into our schools. They revised it. They took it out.
Came back in the schools.
Yep.
But they didn't have a problem with revising it. They did it. Boom.
Yep.
But Jim, that's all I got on that portion of it. Do you want to go on to another segment of the show today?
Yep.
Let's do it.
Okay. I'm sure everybody's heard now with the heat wave going around that climate change is really making a big comeback, right?
Yeah, it is.
Even though in 2003 it was warmer than it is now. And how do you convince these global warming people that it's cyclical? That's what weather is. I mean, when we have the really bad hurricanes, it's global warming, because the water's warming up and all, because our polar caps are melting and all that stuff.
Correct.
But then the next year there's less.
Mm-hmm.
So
how?
Yeah. How? So the science just isn't there, because you can go back and you can look. And look, I've always said since day one, I do not believe the climate is changing. I do not believe in global warming.
Yeah.
Because I don't have enough information.
Correct.
They're not showing everything. They're only showing what they want to do, is saying it warming up, we're losing beaches and all of this stuff. But again, as you and I talked about this, isn't that erosion? I don't know.
It's used to be called that, but
so, but my favorite thing about the left, and because there's a lot of things to love about the left. I mean, there really is. Okay. We have to follow what they set forth.
Correct.
They don't have to.
Correct.
John Kerry.
Oh, I love him. Yeah.
Special presidential envoy for climate. Well, basically, he's the climate czar, right, for the United States.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question real quick on czars?
Yep.
Why is it always the Democrats have czars, but the Republicans never have anything called a czar?
Because the czars fall under what they're trying to get us to become. Communist China. But anyway.
Thank you.
John Kerry's family private jet emitted over 300 metric tons of carbon since Biden took office.
Oh my! What? I can't fathom what 300 metric tons are. I'm pretty sure it's a lot.
It's taken a total of 48 trips lasting more than 60 hours, and it emitted an estimated 715,886 pounds, or 325 metric tons of carbon since he was sworn into office.
Okay.
Now, the plane belongs to Flying Squirrels, LLC. Love that. A charter company owned by Kerry's wife, Teresa Heinz Kerry, and in which Kerry reportedly owning more than $1 million stake in the most recent financial disclosure.
Interesting.
The climate envoy is slated to jet off this week to the Petersburg Climate Change, a UN summit where representatives from 40 countries will negotiate emissions reductions and climate financing for developing nations in Berlin, Germany. Which
nice.
The United States will have to do everything. The other countries don't have to.
That's exactly
that's what it'll come down to.
That's what this summit is.
So when asked, Kerry's office suggested he would travel. This is my favorite. That he would travel to the conference and return to the U.S. via commercial airline.
Oh, okay.
Apparently, commercial airlines, they don't
emit carbon. Oh, it must be one of those new electric planes.
His office similarly said that he wouldn't travel to the World Conference in May by private plane.
Oh, my gosh.
Secretary Kerry travels commercially or via military air in his role as special presidential envoy for the climate, spokesperson added. After Biden announced he would pick Kerry to be the climate envoy, Kerry tweeted, "Americans will soon have a government that treats the climate crisis as an urgent national security threat it is." He has also repeatedly pushed for green transition away from fossil fuels, warning polluters of major consequences. The problem with folks like John Kerry and the climate hypocrites, there's a lot of them, who run the green movement is that they want to use the coercive power of government. Executive Director of Power the Future, Daniel Turner, told Fox News Digital in an interview. They want to use it internationally with groups like the UN, etc. They want to use the power of government to deny the rest of us the ability to use those fossil fuels that they take for granted. Now, the United States government has these shell companies, right? That all of them have. And I think I saw there's like 348 jets, like the private jet the Kerry owns, that people can use, that government officials can use from whatever to do whatever. And guys, whether it's a commercial jet or whether it's a private jet, it gives off emissions. All right. Carbon emissions is out there. You land in San Francisco Airport, and you can donate money to erase your carbon footprint.
Oh my God!
I kid you not. So, which is hilarious in itself, because you can't do that.
you can't erase it.
You can't go back in the sky and fly and erase. Like going back over the same path doesn't erase it, right? Okay.
And the only thing that really does erase it is money.
Yeah, apparently. Now, all of this ties into we're paying higher gas prices. Okay, because why? We want to get away from this stuff, right? So, a couple things real quick that I want to discuss is,
please,
and even a half-witted liberal can understand this.
Oh, okay.
We fly across the country to beg for oil from Saudi Arabia and Iran, because we in the United States, who do it better and cleaner and safer than those other countries, we have all the oil we need right here.
We have right here.
So
basically in one or two states.
Does this not make sense to anybody? It doesn't make sense to me that we are going over to countries, one, that hate us, right? Yes, correct. To get the oil that we can get ourselves. This is stupid. Yep. I mean, this is stupid. Asinine. Okay? It's stupid. And then our wonderful Mayor Pete,
oh my Lord,
in a congressional hearing, Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg states that yes, we need to feel the pain in order to go green. So
how much pain should we endure?
The congressman from Texas asked him again, so are you saying that it's okay for Americans to feel the pain at the pump because it's all for the better in the end? And Mayor Pete, he says, Transportation Secretary Pete said, I know what you're and smiles. I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to get me to say it again, but I'll say it again. Yes, we want Americans to suffer. And guys, you will not see that on CNN. You will not see it on MSNBC. You will not see it in the New York Times. You will not see any of that stuff. But they are basically, this is how stupid and hypocritical they are, that they go to another nation to get the oil, but they won't drill in our own oil. And I'm sorry, guys. I have nothing against people who want to own an electric vehicle. I have nothing. If you want to own it and you can afford it, all the power to you. Have fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We are not ready. Okay. Our infrastructure is not ready for all vehicles, electric vehicles. No. Heck, California is asking them not to charge it because it's taking up too much energy.
Electricity. Correct.
Guys, we still need fossil fuels.
We aren't ready. Mm-hmm.
All right. And we may never be ready for it.
Always will, Jim, because
you got to mine it.
What are when you buy this electric vehicle, Jim, in order for that electric vehicle to be road ready, what makes it road ready? Well, there's tires. What are tires made of, Jim?
Rubber.
Rubber. What is rubber made of, Jim?
Oil. Well, there's oil in it, which makes the carbon black, which makes the yeah.
There's a whole process that involves petroleum products. Right. What makes the plastic inside the electric cars, Jim? Petroleum products. Mm-hmm. This is beyond. Like you said, I don't give a crap if you buy an electric car. Could care less. Mm-hmm. But stop it with the regulation on the oil industry and the bashing of the oil companies and the no drilling hair crap. You will always need the Earth's natural resources, for which our country has sitting on a ton of them. Yeah. You know,
and
so
the last thing
crazy to me.
The last thing I'll say on this: who are the people that the Democrats always say they're for? Who the Democrats? It's their voice. They speak for these individuals.
Correct.
The lower income, right?
Yep. Correct. Oh, yeah.
What do you think the higher prices of everything going around right now? Who do you think hurts the most?
Yeah, it's the poor are getting poorer. They don't even know it.
Yeah, you know? We're all getting poorer, but the poor are getting poorer.
Worse. They're being worse off. Correct.
And right now, these bills that are these aid and assistance bills that they want to pass out that they blame Manchin for, that they want to attack him on. Guys, giving money to people it has never proven to fix anything. I mean, like all the money that they gave us during COVID, we found out we still ended up losing $400 as a family. Right, because it would cost more money to do this stuff. So,
yeah. So, but I think last July 4th we saved 16 cents on hot dogs. Did we not?
Right. What we need to do right now, and again they won't listen to us, but we need to do right now is drill in ourselves, start drilling on this land. It'll bring the oil prices down, which then brings everything down because it costs money to deliver this, and we already have semi truck drivers that we don't have them, right? Yeah. So the prices have to go up because diesel's not coming down. I mean, I haven't noticed diesel coming down. It's still
not really.
I'm seeing it's $5-6 a gallon wherever you go.
Yeah. So when gas prices, so they came down. They're still double what they were when he took off.
I know, and that's my favorite thing is that he's not getting enough credit for coming down. Well, okay, we understand this. It's because of the taxes they cut out.
Yeah.
How long does it last, Dale?
How long does it last? Not long. Till November 9th.
Gee. Huh. What does that... Because as of November 9th, folks...
Day after the midterm,
that gas is going to go back up to $5 a gallon.
See you later.
Because they have no plan to fix it. They just want to... They want to put this shit out there. So their base can say, oh, see, they're trying to fix it. They're trying to fix it.
Correct.
No, they're not.
Correct.
They're hiding
They're
it.
not.
Anyway.
Yeah. All right, well, let's go on to our final segment. We're running a little long. Who cares? But let's go to the final segment. You ready? Jim, speaking of green energy and people who champion green energy, our favorite green energy spokesperson, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Now, I'm sure many of you have heard the story because by the time this, recording comes out, it will be a day or two old, but Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or AOC, or as I am going to call her from now on, Jim, the bartender in the Congressional House. The bartender in the Congressional House. I'll let you figure out the acronym.
I got it when you first.
Anyways,
you're pretty good. That's good.
You like that? I don't think you've heard it anywhere else. The bartender in the Congressional House. Audience, I'll give you a minute. We're moving on. On Tuesday, seemingly pretended to be handcuffed after being escorted away during a pro-abortion protest outside of the Supreme Court. Of course, doing that, let the mockery and the jocularity assume itself here. The U.S. Capitol Police arrested over a dozen members of Congress. The protest took place on Tuesday and featured several lawmakers, some of whom were actually arrested. A viral video now shows an officer escorting the New York lawmaker, the bartender in the Congressional House, away from the Supreme Court as a nearby woman shouted, "Abortion rights are under attack." Our favorite bartender can be seen walking with her hands behind her back, in shackles, it appears, creating the illusion of being handcuffed. She then raises a fist in the air, confirming the absence of handcuffs.
Being led by Capitol Police, which is also in itself terrible.
Yeah, being led by Capitol Police. Oh, you got to remember that the bartender in the Congressional House also feared for her life during the January 6th insurrection, even though she was nowhere near it.
I know.
And she also, at one point, was crying in front of some sort of fence during the Trump years because of all of the trauma and torture that was going on with these illegal children coming across the border. Again, proven false. Right. But the stunt generated a wave of mockery across social media. That's because she's a performer, not a congresswoman, one said. One called her a fraud, and another user observed, almost as good as fake crying at the random fence in Arizona, which we had just talked about. Some U.S. lawmakers, 16 according to authorities, were actually arrested. The bartender in the Congressional House retweeted. Axios reporter Andrew Sullender, who said that she was among those arrested. Others were there. This is Congresswoman Adams' staff. She was just arrested protesting for abortion rights and reproductive justice at the Supreme Court. More information as it develops. The staff.
That's not what they were arrested for.
No, that is not what what were they arrested for, Jim? Go on.
Blocking traffic.
Blocking traffic.
You can protest. It says there you can protest. You can't hinder traffic.
Can't hinder traffic at all. You're another one of our favorites. Represent Ilhan Omar.
This was funny.
Was reportedly arrested as well. This news coincides with Capitol Police actively warning demonstrators that arrests would be made if they continued to, what, Jim?
Block traffic.
Block traffic. She tweeted, "Today I was arrested while participating in a civil disobedience action with my fellow members of Congress outside the Supreme Court. I will continue to do everything in my power to raise the alarm about the assault on our reproductive rights." So here we go. Demonstrators are starting to block First Street Northeast. It is against the law to block traffic, so officers are going to give our standard 3 warnings before they start making arrests. Capitol Police posted to social media around 1:18 p.m. Eastern, later adding that some of the demonstrators are refusing to get out of the street. Now, who were those demonstrators?
Congressmen and women.
Congresswomen. According to an update, police made 34 arrests for crowding, obstructing, and crowding and obstructing. Almost half of those arrests were members of Congress. The protest comes weeks after the Supreme Court Roe v. Wade sending rules to restrictions on abortions in the state. Jim, the point of that story was 2 things. And 2 things I found very interesting about it. The people who were supposedly protesting, obviously, that group, the squad. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you know the temperature was damn near 95 yesterday in Washington?
Mm-hmm. Did you see what they were wearing? Did you see
what? Yeah, long coats. My God. I mean, what? what are they doing? You know,
did you see
stifling
Omar?
Hot.
As she was walking, she didn't even have a police next to her. She was just walking with her hands
with her hands behind her back.
No, I do
not even a cop there.
I do want to ask this, right?
Correct.
They're looking for congressmen, president staff, people running for office in Georgia and all these other places. They want to try and tie those individuals with January 6th, right?
Yep, okay. They do. Yep.
People were arrested. Arrested.
Yeah.
Okay. Congresswomen from the squad were arrested. Are they going to be going up in front of a disciplinary committee because they were arrested for breaking the law? Are we going to have... are they going to be removed from their seats because they were arrested? They broke the law?
Yeah. Yeah. Should there not be some sort of standard for not being arrested if you're in Congress? I would think that would be the right thing, right?
They were.
I believe if I got arrested right now, I may lose my position. You know, I mean, you know, let's be honest. I love the fact that they just put their hands behind their back. And
two of them did,
to be two of them, and pretended to be in handcuffs. So just remember,
and the one comment by AOC that I love by somebody wrote. I can't remember his name, but he was one of the founders of Wikipedia.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, that conservative group. Right?
Yeah.
Even said that if AOC paid more attention to her people than she does herself and what she's trying to put out there, then she'd probably be doing a lot better service for her people. But she doesn't give a crap about her people she serves. This is all for attention for her.
It's self-serving for her.
Yes, and she wants this image. So when she does get out of office, which I hope is in 2022, I haven't seen any polls, but I'm assuming she's going to win because people in her district are stupid. But she's going to she's using this for her future. She doesn't give a shit about the American people. She doesn't care. She doesn't give a darn about them.
Doesn't give a darn about them. Doesn't give a darn about them. And it's no longer AOC, Jim. What is it? Bartender?
The Congressional House.
Jim, that's all I've got. I do want to make an announcement on some upcoming interviews, and I want to give some credit to some people. Next Tuesday, stay tuned, folks. We get to re-interview Tina Descovich and Tiffany Justice of Moms for Liberty. Melissa at Cavalry Strategies, which I talked about last episode, and I'll continue to praise them. Along with their staff, Maddie and Maddie and Sierra. Sorry about that. They were able to reach back out to them to see if they could do a remote interview with us because of the issues we had with being on site recording, and immediately responded. Immediately took care of it, and so we are very excited about that. That will be brought to you next Tuesday. We can't wait for that. So Tiffany Justice, Tina Descovich, co-founders of Moms for Liberty. Stay tuned next Tuesday for that interview.
So those of you who are waiting for the interview that we did with them, it just didn't turn out the way we were hoping.
No, so it's not fair to them. It's not fair to them.
Exactly. And so now this is going to be better situation, better prepared, better. And hopefully they won't be as tired as what they were.
Well, I mean, who knows? They got a lot going on. We also have some other interviews with some other members from Moms for Liberty, which will happen as well next week. You'll see those. We'll announce who they are at the time, but there's a lot going on, and there's a lot going on in our lives, and we're managing it, right, Jim?
Yeah,
we're managing it.
With these trying to set up these interviews in the right opportunities and the right times, that coincide with their schedule, our schedule, and everything else. It's great. But we're going to have some really cool interviews coming up. I mean, there's really great people that are fun people coming up, and we can't wait. And I do want to do a plug. There's a gentleman that we are going to be interviewing. He wants to come on. He actually asked, he said, I would be on your podcast. I'd love to come on your podcast. And it's Adam Coleman, and he wrote a book, From Victim to Victor. Black victim to black victor. I'm sorry. And so far I'm reading the book, and I bought it from him and everything. And it's an astounding so far to read it with his interpretation of what he believes is going on. And I encourage you before we interview him, because it might be a week or two, depending on his schedule and stuff.
At least.
But, I encourage you to go out and read it. You can find it on Amazon. You can find it, just look it up. It's Adam Coleman, Black Victim to Black Victor. But he put in this quote, and I told Mrs. Jim that I would love to get this on a stencil and put it on my wall behind us, so everybody can see it all the time when we do our podcast shoot. And it is, the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. Martin Luther King, Strength of Love, 1963.
Yep. It's true. True.
That is, I want that everywhere. Okay. Cause it doesn't just refer to blacks and white. It's all of us. All of us have to do this. So a nice little pitch for him. And if you want to, if anybody wants to go out and get his book, do it, read it. I'm not kidding you. Whether you're white or black, it's very important to read that. It handles everything about how it's perceived and how things are done. And we'll be talking about it again as we go, because he is also a friend of the show, and we want to have him on. And I think it's important for stuff like this to get out there. But it's just, so far it's a great read. So
good. Give the name of the book one more time.
It's Black Victim to Black Victor by Adam, Adam Coleman, Coleman.
Yep. Good. A very nice person too.
Very nice guy.
We were pleasure to meet him. So can't wait to talk to him about it. Jim, that's today's episode, folks. Again, you'll find out how to follow us and all that. I want to just repeat what we started with. Go on our Facebook page, 2 Guys, 1 Coup. Click on that Title IX link that's on there. I'll repost it again. If you don't have it and you need it, let me know. I'll send it to you. I can text it to you. I can whatever, private message you with it. It's important to go on and sign that and get that shoved down Biden's throat as far as we can on that. Jim, thank you again. Great stories. Great to talk to you again. Everybody out there, have a phenomenal weekend.
And remember, guys, you heard it first. Dale likes Jim Harbaugh.
Dale has agreed with one thing.
That's not what I heard.
Jim Harbaugh has ever said or did.
I didn't hear that. I heard you love him
one
now.
Thing. Is that what you? Yeah, you are a liberal. You heard what you wanted. Jim, we are out of here. Have a good one, folks. We'll see you all next Tuesday when you get to hear the interview with Tiffany and Tina. It's going to be a must watch and must listen, I'm telling you. So, Jim, have a good weekend.
You too.
Folks, we'll see you. Thank you again. Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to the 2 Guys, 1 Coup podcast with Dale and Jim. Remember, you can watch on YouTube and Rumble and listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. And if you like what you hear, go ahead and give us a 5-star review. We really appreciate it, and it helps others find us when searching for podcasts. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and TikTok. Just search for 2 Guys, 1 Coup. That's the number 2 Guys and the number 1 Coup, COUP. Thanks again for listening to the 2 Guys, 1 Coup podcast, and God bless the United States of America.